Well, hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Tropics Talk. Gulf Coast meteorologist Jim Dickey back with you here on this Thursday morning. A little more to talk about out there. We now have a named storm. Our string of no-name storms out there in the Atlantic that stretches all the way back to late August, over and done with now, as Gabrielle formed yesterday, as I'll show you in just a moment. Not looking very impressive here this morning, that's for sure. And then a new area the Hurricane Center has highlighted for development. And they've actually, they wiped out the one area that was there yesterday that marked, you can sort of see it underneath the area of yellow. That disturbance is moving away from the Cabo Verde Islands, but basically every model is backed off on that one coming together. Now it's the next wave that'll move off Africa in the next day or so that'll be watched for development. Let's begin, though, looking across the tropical Atlantic here, the Caribbean, on into the eastern side of the basin. Hey, there's lots of thunderstorm activity out there right now, lots of convection popping off. And it marks a number of tropical waves, a series of what we call these tropical waves, these sort of broad, open, weak areas of low pressure that can, if conditions are ripe, develop into tropical depressions, tropical storms. One, right here, and you see it enhancing thunderstorm activity near Central America, near the Yucatan. That's going to slide on shore today. We have another tropical wave located right about there. You can see some big-time thunderstorm activity popping off near Puerto Rico. Nothing's expected out of that tropical wave. And then, of course, we have the one I talked about that's moving away from the Cabo Verde Islands. Another wave about to emerge off the coast of Africa. In between all of that, there is Gabrielle. Now, why are we not seeing any of these besides Gabrielle really coming together? And really, that's the reason why right there. There's a whole lot of wind shear out there across the basin, especially for this time of year, for mid-September. It's a big part of the reason why September has been such a quiet month. It's just been a hostile environment for storms to try to come together. A big factor in this year's season, this right here. See the swirling going on? A trough of low pressure, an upper-level trough that has been more or less a consistent feature in the central Atlantic north of the Caribbean, providing that extra wind shear. Areas in red where shear is just too high for a storm to come together, and there's pockets of high shear basically across the basin right now. Also pockets of low shear, so if a system is able to find one of those pockets, yeah, it can spin up, but that has really been the exception, not the rule so far this year. In fact, with Gabrielle, it is feeling the effects of wind shear right now. As I put this lapse into motion, there's the center of Gabrielle. Note, what you're not seeing is any of, say, the big thunderstorm activity like they're seeing right now near Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. Rather, it's just sort of a naked swirl of clouds right now. That is not what you look to see in a storm that is on the verge of becoming a hurricane. This is a weak system. It will likely stay weak. I could even see a scenario where shear tears this apart entirely. Basically, you have that westerly wind shear right now pushing all of the thunderstorm activity, all of what we call the deep convective activity, to the east of the center. What a healthy tropical system wants to do, stack that convection over the center. That allows it to sort of flourish, and until we see that occurring, I don't expect any intensification. In fact, the forecast calls for this to weaken here today, holding as a borderline tropical storm. Remember, the threshold is 40 miles per hour for a tropical storm. We're at 45 sustained winds as it moves to the north and west, then turns to the north and into early next week. That's when this has the chance to become a hurricane, if it holds together to that point. Once it gets to about the latitude of Jacksonville and turns to the north, gets away from the wind shear, warm waters there. Note, as I zoom in on the cone here, there's Bermuda. Technically not in the cone, but too close for comfort, I would say. So I don't think it's out of the question. There could be direct impacts from Bermuda. If there is some good news, you'd be on the clean side of the storm. So it's the dirty side, the western side of the storm. Typically, the worst of the weather stays to the east of center. So the worst of the rain would likely stay east of Bermuda in that track. And there's very strong model consensus, both in the intensity. You see most models keep this very, very weak through at least the weekend, and then the slow intensification process into early next week, Monday, Tuesday, as that lifts north. And the spaghetti plot here, the model plots, the track plots, very good agreement for this early in the game. West-northwest track going through the weekend, staying well north of the Caribbean, and then turning to the north and east. Not a single outlier here. Every model shows that general scenario going through the next 7 days. So no, this is not a threat to Florida, to the United States. Again, we'll watch for Bermuda, but otherwise this will not bring direct impacts to land. And then to Africa, again, a new disturbance moving off of the coast. Technically, there's two of them here, one there, one there. There's just simply not a strong model signal for development with either of those, including the one the Hurricane Center now has highlighted with a low development chance, but it works slowly to the west. Long time to track this before it comes anywhere close to land. This is where it tracks over the next 7 days, so still a week from today will be well east of the Caribbean. Keep an eye on it. If something does form, the next name on the list would be Umberto. That's right, Umberto. Difficult one pronunciation-wise for many, I'm sure. But as we've talked about, we've fallen off of the pace for even an average hurricane season. In an average year, you see 14 named storms. We're sitting at 7, so only halfway there, and we're far past the halfway point of the season and past the typical peak of activity in the Atlantic. We'd really have to see things ramping up in short order to get to that average number of named storms, and likely at this point we won't. But I caution you, it doesn't really matter. Even in a below average season, it just takes one storm hitting us to make it a bad season for us. And still for South Florida, typically October tends to be an active month. In fact, here in Southwest Florida, more hurricanes have made landfall in the month of October than September, going back through the years. So, not to make you feel uncomfortable about anything, but the point is we can't necessarily let our guard down just yet, and we're going to still be watching anything and everything out there for you the rest of the way. So with that in mind, enjoy the continued break. No threats to Florida right now, but still quite a bit of hurricane season to go before we can give the all clear. Until next time, I'm meteorologist Jim Dickey. Have a great day.